Hero. Let us talk about Metal Hero. So, Jordan, you're probably wondering what the difference is between Metal Hero and the rest of this stuff. Ultimately, Metal Hero sort of takes a more militaristic approach. So it's much shorter. It ended in like I can't remember what year, but it ended quite a while before. Kamen Rider and Super Sentai are still going because Kamen Rider, I guess, was on break, and this kind of filled the gap. And once Kamen Rider came back, they determined they were going to go with that instead because it sort of falls into like 3 categories. It's usually a science-based show with either like a robot or a cop or a space cop. So there's kind of 3 main sub-series within Metal Hero. There's the Space Sheriff series.
And these all exist in the same world, like the same universe, like the Sentai do?
Some of them kind of do, yeah, depending on... So, like, they're all kind of meant to be their own contained universes, and they weren't considered part of the Metal Hero franchise until way later. So, there's the Space Sheriff Gavan. There is the Super Cops, or the Cop one, where there's a 3-part one with that. And then there's a series of ones where they're all robots. And they're all vaguely similar in their kind of rough aesthetic. Like, they all look sort of more metallic, but they are kind of different and separate from each other. So I wanted to really get... There's 19 of them in total. Whereas with yours, I think they're up to 60 at this point. But there's only like 20 of them. So I wanted to get a real good like cross-section of them to really explain each of them differently. And this is all leading up to... I will eventually be talking about the American equivalent of these Big Bad Beetleborgs and VR Troopers. But to start off with, we got to start off with the very first one, which we've already talked about before in the movie, but I watched the original show of Space Sheriff Gavan.
地球の平和を守るため銀河の彼方からやってきた正義の勇者宇宙刑事ギャバン宇宙犯罪組織マクオー相手の死闘が今始まった実写特撮の新技術を使い壮大なスケールで描く宇宙刑事ギャバン世紀のスーパーヒーローの登場新番組宇宙刑事ギャバンお楽しみに
Gavan 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 is how they pronounce it in Japanese. And he is a space cop. And the whole bit with him is his mother is from Earth and his father is from another planet. And he is the cadet of a group of space cops. That's basically what they are. And he has
he's basically Seth Rogen from Invincible.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Kind of similar, yeah. I thought you would have gone Buzz Lightyear, but yeah, kind of. And he's been assigned to Earth to stop it, to defeat it from a particular set of bad guys whose name I can't remember. And yeah, his whole thing is he's got a super suit, and all of his weapons it's not magical powers, it's tools. And so his transformation sequence is really cool because he says his transformation sequence is metamorphosis, so Jakju, and his armor appears around him, and it does a little narration where it's like you'll notice that Space Sheriff Gavan's transformation happens in half a second. Let's see it happen like in slow motion.
貴様何者だ宇宙刑事ギャバン宇宙刑事ギャバンがコンバットスーツを乗着するタイムはわずか 0.05 秒に過ぎないでは乗着プロセスをもう一度見てみよう乗着了
解コンバットスーツ連装します
And it does the full sequence in like super slow motion. You see him transform, and it like explains everything. It explains who all the bad guys are, what the deal is, and it's very clear, and it's pretty fun. It's a little old in the sense that like some of the special effects, a lot of these older shows, like I don't know if you noticed it so much in Time Ranger, but the older they are, they pad for time by like repeating action sequences. So like they'll do an action piece, and then they'll super zoom in, and the camera will shake, and then they'll do the exact same thing, and it prolongs these like action sequences, so they go on for way longer than necessary just to pad out time.
I don't so much notice that. I do notice, like, yeah, they especially in Time Ranger and stuff like that, they reuse the future people stuff a lot.
Yeah, where it's like there's just certain things though, and so a lot of the action and they do a lot of quick cuts, so the fighting just doesn't look as good. Like I find the newer these shows get, the better the fighting looks, just for whatever reason. And the monsters
that does remind me though of one thing that I liked about the one that I just talked about is I like that in that first episode they when before he transforms, they download his brain into the computer, and it's like, oh, that's why he knows how to use all the technology and everything right away. And like they actually take the time to explain why he knows how to use this stuff.
That's what's cool about the Space Sheriffs, is they're like highly trained military guys. So like, okay, this is why he's already kind of been using it, like he's been trained in it. So there's no like that's kind of save time. But yeah, the monsters are, like you said, confused. I think I maybe sent you a video of one. It's the one where I was like, you sent
me a lot of videos
like
this
it's
week.
part rat, part that scene from Beetlejuice where Alec Baldwin opens his face.
So remember how we were like, sometimes the themes are confused? Like this monster, like part rat, part bird, part that moment in Beetlejuice when Alec Baldwin like opened his head. You know that bit? It's too much. It's too many things.
Yeah, I remember you showing me that.
Yeah. And it's like the designs are confused, and they're not. It's just a consequence. It's old. But the big thing with Metal Hero going forward is, this is the big difference between it and Kamen Rider Super Sentai, is it's geared for older people, like adults, more adults, because there's quite a bit more graphic violence in there. Not so much. I didn't get to any good stuff in this one, but like stuff explodes more. I think I sent you one from another show we're going to talk about later, where the guy was like on fire. Like you see cars crash into each other and just get decimated, and it's like, they probably really did that with a car. So it's that kind of era of like a filmmaking where it's like where it's like real good practical effects. And it has the best theme song of all of these, bar none. The best theme song. That's Space Sheriff Gavan. Okay, so we will be talking about VR Troopers later. VR Troopers is based on multiple of the Metal Hero shows. One of which is a show called Space Sheriff Shaider. The pronunciations are rough on this. They're hard words to pronounce. And I watched about 5 episodes of it, and it was really boring. And I think I sent you the one clip, the funniest bit of it. Not funniest, maybe the wrong word, but it was the bit where they were antagonizing the puppy.
I have no idea what's happening. But these might be the most dastardly villains yet.
And there's scenes just of them playing that song over and over again. Randomly, one of the bad guys is, I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be a male character or if it was supposed to be a female character. Either way, it was definitely a male actor, and it just kind of looked like it was a man in drag. And they were Egyptian. I couldn't figure out what was going on.
何とぞ不思議獣を海よ母なる不思議の海よ不思議獣の生を育みたまえ
It was really dull, and I'm like, and then the only real thing that was of interest is that the costume is now blue. Did I mention that the Space Sheriff series was not considered to be part of the Metal Hero series for the longest time, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So yeah, that was really boring, and I not much to say about it other than he's a real flippy guy. Like compared to Gavan, he flips a lot. And he's the third of these Space Sheriffs, and he's blue. That's it. That's the most interesting bit. So I decided today to watch the first 2 episodes, and this is going to be real rapid fire of the police side of Metal Hero, with 2 of the series, Solbrain and Winspector. And they are, the gimmick with them is that they are a department of the police. So that's the one I sent you where he looks like RoboCop. So that one, that is Solbrain.
犯罪が高度化した時代、人の命と心を救うために自らの青春をかけて立ち上がった若者たちがいた。それが特捜救急警察である。
And one of them, they're literally just emergency vehicles. So he's the police. There's a girl, and she's like a paramedic. And then there's a third one that's a robot. And this came out in the 90s, and this gives the impression that Japanese people in the 90s were really fucking bored, or like their country, or they were just really, really safe, because it's just really dramatic versions of rescuing people from like moderately boring danger that regular people could easily do. So like the first episode, there's an AI that like wants to take over the body of this kid, so he causes a satellite to crash into the building. And then the episode is a really long extended sequence of the guy and the girl saving people from a burning building, to the point that the girl has an oxygen mask that she puts on people's faces to make sure they're okay. And it's really, really long and really, really boring. And it's like, yeah, eventually they turn into the suits, but they don't fight bad guys. They rescue people from a building. And then I watched, okay, I'm like, okay, I'll watch the second episode. And then the second episode, the conflict is resolved with words. And it's like,
so what's the third one? Do they hug it out and talk about their feelings?
The episode end. Okay, this is how the plot of the episode is. There's a criminal, and his daughters are gonna break him out of prison, and they resolve and the whole thing is they want to know if he's changed or not, and they've determined that he's changed to become a better person because he takes care of a patch of flowers. And
is this show supposed to be for kids?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is when we get to future of the Metal Hero, no. But this one seems to be. And so yeah, the conflict is resolved by they're like, if you don't help us stop your daughters from breaking you out of prison, we'll take away your flowers.
牧村、お前に本当に良心がないというのなら。この花は無用なはずだ。お前に大事にする資格なんかない。殺してやる。やめろ。待ってくれ。
That's where
I accidentally unplugged you.
I sent you the clip of it earlier, and you were like, "Oh, it looks like RoboCop." That's the show I'm talking about, where he shows up and he fights these 2 psychic women who just like raise their arms, and he gets shot. And I'm like, I think this is the first one of these that I'm like, this is bad.
クソルブレインだ。二人ともおとなしくしろ。
そんな、どうしてここが分かったの？
お前たちの父親が教えてくれた。
そんなの嘘よ。嘘よ。
I think this might be the first one of these that's actively bad. This is just not very good.
This isn't very good. The fight sequences look like garbage. Like, they're not really fighting anything. And I don't watch these shows to watch them solve their problems with words. What do we watch these shows for, Jordan?
Crazy suits and explosions.
And watching them punch a guy. Gotta punch a
Yeah,
guy.
mostly the explosions.
Like, the explosions helps. But they explode when they punch a guy.
Big thing go boom.
Big thing go boom. And it's just very dull. And then the final one in this batch of these this is a trilogy, and I think Solbrain is the first one. No, Winspector's the first one, Solbrain's the second one, and there's one more I didn't bother watching. Same deal. He's a cop. But the difference is now he's got two robots.
特警ウィンスペクターとは平和を愛し友情を信じ人の命を守るため犯罪に立ち向かう警視庁特別救急警察隊のことである。
Two robot sidekicks who are part robot, part like, so one of them's part helicopter and one of them's part motorcycle, but they don't like transform into the motorcycle. He just is a motorcycle. So he's like running down the road, he's got a big wheel in his front, and his arms and legs are like flapping around. It looks really stupid. And
Sounds really stupid.
The one guy is human, and the entire action sequence of the first episode, I didn't watch the second one, but the first one is basically just like there's a cyborg, like he's a human guy with like bad looking cyborg parts, and he kidnaps the scientist's daughter, and he's gonna drive this tanker into the science lab, blowing up the science lab and killing the daughter in the explosion. And so
twisting his mustache and laughing the entire time.
There's no mustache, but the guy is watching on a television screen, and it periodically cuts to him cackling. Yes, it's.
騒げもっと騒げ今に見てろ高沢貴様の大切にしてる孫と研究所を葬り地獄の苦しみを味わせてやる
That kind of show. And the big action sequence of the episode isn't that, like, the thing about the Space Sheriff series, like, as much as like Shaider was not very interesting, at least they fought bad guys. Like, this ends with he's climbing up a trap of this tanker, trying to break into the tanker to stop it, and that's kind of it. He shoots his gun at the thing as it's dying. Like, it's just not very interesting, and the robot sidekicks are not very fun. Yeah, it wasn't very good. The other thing about the Metal Hero series, the Space Sheriffs, is much like the Sentai, they have robots or vehicles. They have like big vehicles. So
assault vehicles.
Yeah. So like Space Sheriff Gavan, he's got a spaceship that he can summon, and there's always scenes of them like fighting. All the bad guys always have fighter pilots, and there's always scenes of them shooting at each other. And they always like turn into something else. So Gavin's turns into a dragon, and the Sheridan's his turns into a big gun that a laser version of him shoots. It's really dumb. Those scenes are really dumb, and they go on forever. And they're not nearly as interesting as when they fight one-on-one, because they just don't look that great. But yeah, that's it. That's my rapid fire. That's the broad spectrum of all of the Metal Heroes. There's one more subgenre within the Metal Heroes we're gonna get to, but that's it. So I've got kind of 2-ish for my final one, but it's really more 1-ish. I have selected Bfighter. The first season, the main one, the one I finished is Juukou Bfighter, which is heavy shell Bfighter.
新番組重工 B ファイター緑の星の未来をかけたインセクトスーパーアクション選ばれし3人の若者が地球の運命を背負って異次元軍団ジャマールに戦いを挑む起動せよインセクトアーマー人類と昆虫の英知から生まれたニューヒーロー B ファイターの誕生だ神秘のボディを君は見たか重工 B ファイター昆虫戦士だ
And it is about Japan. There is I can't remember what it's called, but they're basically like the UN. They take care of the planet. They've got various different like environmental is working for them. So like the one guy, he's a zoologist. The other guy, he's a plant guy, and I can't remember what the girl was. And there's an evil invading army called Jamal, and they are led by Gavan. And what I liked about this show, and they always actually the premise of it is they are developing a series of robot armor, just like any other one of these shows, and the guardian of or the I can't remember what they said he exactly is, but he's basically like the leader of all of the insects, named Guru. Shows up, and he's really cool. He's like a Hercules beetle puppet, and he looks really cool, and the effect looks really cool. He shows up, and he imbues the armor with the spirit of the insects.
昆虫のせい
何億匹もの昆虫が自ら捧げた生命を圧縮したのだ昆虫の能力の結晶だ
And so the armor...
Are you sure he's Guru and he's not Super Kami Guru?
He could potentially be Super Kami Guru. But early they established that the armor operates kind of on its own, and it guides them through the action. And it has its own kind of spirit and energy. And so when it becomes too damaged, they have to take it off, and they have to put it back in its little case for it to heal. And then once it's fully healed, they can turn back into through a process they call heavy shell. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what you think it is. The bad guys have an evil plan. They show up, they beat the bad guy, and problem solved. But what makes this interesting is, like I said before, one of the things that's consistent among the series is there are 3 separate armies. So in this series, there are the shoot, I'm forgetting what they're called, but bio creatures, basically army. There's the mercenary army, and then there's the cyber army, and they're the 3 bad guys from Big Bad Beetleborgs, and they each and the bio army, they're basically like genetic creatures, and so they're different combinations of different animals and whatnot. And then the cyber army are all robots, and then the mercenaries are anything. Sometimes they're people. Like in one episode, it was a former friend of the leader who had killed this dragon and gotten this sword, and so she was super strong because of this dragon armor and this sword. And the episode ends with the dragon taking over her body to get revenge. And like I said, it's quite a bit more violent than Sentai. Like in one of the episodes, a girl gets taken over, gets mind control from the bad guy, and she attacks the guy and just starts choking the shit out of him. And Sentai wouldn't do that, or Kamen Rider. That's
No.
Or like one of the bad guys, they beat him by like skewering him through the stomach. And you actually you see the sword go through him. And so eventually there's a big status quo change, like there is, and the big status quo change is eventually they introduce, like they do in Big Bad Beetleborgs, a character they call Blackbeat, he's brought to life using the magic of one of the associates of the evil army guy.
Through the magic of friendship and love.
And so now he's there, and he's one of the leaders of the army. But he's got his own secret goal of, like, he wants to beat the blue guy, and there's this big mystery. And in order to create him, they stung the blue guy with some, like, poison or whatever. And so it's just really obvious early on that he's a clone of the blue guy, but they stretch out the mystery till, like, the last, like, 10 episodes, where you finally find out that... And the effect of the two guys in the same place, like, they fight each other a bunch, and it's honestly not... It's pretty good. Like, it's fairly believable.
I mean, speaking of people being... two people being in the same place... That reminds me, didn't even talk about how fucking phenomenal Waz is in that
Oh my
show.
god, Waz is so good.
The guy who plays two different versions of himself, and they're both phenomenal.
Waz is my favorite character. I love his...
I genuinely think he's probably my favorite character.
He's my favorite character. I love his Kamen Rider suit. The design's genuinely good.
Waz!
Yeah.
Waz! Go Waz!
I love how he just periodically will just appear out of nowhere to proselytize. It's funny every single time.
Yeah, to prophetize. Yeah. He's
funny.
so great.
It's funny
Sorry.
every single time.
We
had to mention Waz. How we could not mention Waz? But yeah, so basically they introduced this black, and he big, he's the Sixth Ranger. He beats their ass, and he's evil for a while. And the show is too long. It's 53 episodes long, and they do like the same 3 episodes a bunch, where it's like the red and the green guy don't trust each other, and they have to learn to work together. Or the red guy has a crisis of conscience, the blue guy does whatever. But just randomly about... So that's the big first status quo change. No, sorry, the big first status quo change is they kill the bad guy. They beat him, and he transforms into just a floating head. So for the rest of the series, he's just a floating head.
That feels lazy.
And all of the bad guys all hate each other. That's the whole thing. They're all competing. And so periodically they'll do episodes where they team together. So he's a bionic creature who is also a robot and is also part mercenary. And so that's what Blackbeat is. He's a combination of all of them. And they're all trying to, like, tell him what to do. And he's like, no, I'm my own guy. And his ultimate thing is he wants to kill the blue one, because if he kills the blue one, he becomes his own person. And yeah, there's varying degrees of being the monster, blah, blah, blah. And then the final arc is the bad guy decides that he's just going to go full-bore kamikaze and puts all of his energy into a black hole and kills all of the generals who work for him. Just screws them all over and kills all of them. Tries to kill the Black Beetle guy, fails. Black Beetle guy gets away, and the leader of the mercenary, she changes sides to help him. And so then he brings in another former associate of hers to try to kill the Bfighters or whatever. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna make you the leader of the mercenary army. And she's like, oh, that's this great honor. I'm like, I wouldn't trust him. He just screwed over literally every one of his associates to try and steal their energy. And so then he's like, yeah, I'm gonna make you the leader. And then he inevitably screws her over too. And it's like, see, I told you. He literally screwed the rest of them over. Why would you trust him? This is a weird time. Because this is like, they're in the final arc of the series. They're about to do the big final confrontation. And like, this is a really weird time to introduce this character. This is a very odd choice.
Sounds like a bad show.
It's honestly quite good. I quite enjoyed it. But the big thing with it, and this is a problem with the Metal Hero series, and why it's what Toei considers it to be a defunct series, a failed series, is because it, much like you have pointed out, is very confused. It suffers from an identity issue. It can't decide if it wants to be a team-based show where there's a team and they have robots and they fight big monsters, or it can't decide if it wants to be he's a single guy and he's fighting monsters like Kamen Rider show. And also, Kamen Rider was on a hiatus at the time. So Kamen Rider came back and they decided to go with Kamen Rider instead. And the team-based thing, they already had Sentai, so they didn't need this. So that's why it ultimately failed and why they haven't made a new one since.
That checks. That tracks.
But one of the... So,
would you finish it?
I already did finish it. And it was alright. But one of the more frustrating elements of it, boring elements, is they all have vehicles. But the vehicle combat is unlike Sentai, where they merge into a big robot. They just kind of drive around. So like the one of them has a helicopter, one of them has it's like a Hercules Beetle tank thing.
So it's like those scenes in Power Rangers when they're fighting in the individual swords and it looks lame, and then they turn into the Megazord.
Right.
But this one they don't turn into the Megazord.
But what they fight against is just boring fighter jets. And then eventually they introduce what is their version of the Megazord, a bigger bug that they combine into one thing. But their version of combining into one thing is they've just got slots that the smaller vehicles slot into. So when it moves, you just see the model and the little versions of them just bouncing around on it, and it looks bad. And the only good mech fight in the entire show is the leader of the robot army. He sacrifices all his energy to the bad guy, and you think he's dead, and it turns out he's not. He's alive, and he's gone completely insane. And he turns himself into a big tank with his head on it, and there's kind of a fun fight between them, where it's like, oh, we're fighting a big guy now. Okay, now this is actually interesting. Otherwise, it's just them shooting or pulling stuff, or it's not very exciting. But what's interesting and what differentiates them is because they're robot suits, they move a little slower, they move a little... so their fights are a bit more brutal and a bit more aggressive, and they hit harder. So, like, if you're looking for an alternative to Sentai or Kamen Rider and you want something a bit darker and a bit more violent, like this, as, like, a more adult alternative to Power Rangers in the States, totally could have worked. And like, you could have adapted it with, like, a teenage, like a Jason David Frank Austin St. John style series of leads, like, instead of making it a show for 8-year-olds. I don't understand how this became a show for 8-year-olds, and it's even more baffling because the original show often is about helping a kid or saving a kid or teaming up with a kid, and like, it's not awful. It's actually interesting. Oh, and also I forgot. Randomly, about 23 to 24 episodes in, they changed the girl. So for 25 episodes, it's one girl, and then randomly she just leaves a letter and is like, "Bye, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back." And
I have to go away for no reason.
Yeah, I have to go to South America for no real reason. And I tried to look it up. There's seemingly no explanation for it. But they replace her with a much younger girl who they specifically say is 19 and is hysterical. Like there's all the time. That's her bit. Like she has to go through this character arc where she has to learn not to be nice to people. Like there's an episode where she like defeats a bad guy by talking him down. He's like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Like, is this really necessary?" And the monster's like, "No, I guess it's not really necessary." And then he walks away, and the bad guys are like, "What the?
You don't want to sell me death sticks?"
Like what? The other Bfighters and the bad guys are like, "What just happened?" It's very strange. The other girl never comes back. They pretend like it's been her the whole time. It's very bizarre. But there's
you don't want to sell me death sticks.
There's a season 2.
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks. There's a second season there's a direct sequel to this show. And I thought that was kind of neat, where it was like, yeah, it's 5 years later, one of the original Bfighters creates new upgrade versions of the powers. It gives it, but now they're teenagers, and they get to be 1,000 times more dramatic than the previous versions do. Also, to wrap this up, the final episodes of Bfighter. Remember how you had your moments where you're like, I feel like I should know these guys. Like the show's like, ta-da, yeah. The final 2 episodes is a crossover where the past 3 seasons of the show come back and they do a big team up. And the last season is just like SWAT guys with like vaguely Metal Hero looking masks, like they don't look interesting. And the previous guy is a purple robot.
Oh, you're supposed to know who that is?
And yeah, you're supposed to. His name is Jom something, and you're supposed to know. And
Jump person for justice. Ha! 名だたる悪の組織を相棒ガンギブソンとたった2人で倒したスーパーロボットジャンパーソンやで。
Different Metal Hero characters show up, and the show is like clearly supposed to be like you're supposed to know who these people are, and then their individual bad guys show up, and it does that thing where it's like, yeah, this is we meet again, and I'm like, yeah, I clearly am supposed to. So that was my moment of being like, this show clearly is I'm supposed to recognize these characters, but I don't, and I have no interest in why. Although no, that's not true. The robot I was interested in because I was curious as to if he stayed a robot the whole time. Because when he showed up on the show, he shows up as a robot, and I thought it was like yours, where it was like, oh, they don't want to get the actor to come back.
Okay.
But yeah. I liked it. I watched the first 3 to 4 episodes of the sequel, and the characters were annoying, and I was like, I understand why this got canceled. But yeah, they ultimately decided to go. So there's a universe where Kamen Rider is the one that got canceled, and Metal Hero is the popular one.
I don't think there was ever a world where that was going to happen.
Well, it's funny because the Metal Heroes all are like Kamen Rider in the sense that like most of them drive a motorcycle. Most of them, but then again, yeah, it's confused. It's like you said, it's too many things. Like Kamen Rider is like, yeah, they drive one vehicle, and it's a motorcycle or it's a car, but that's it. They don't have like 50 different vehicles. Super Sentai is like they've got the one robot. They all merge into it. Like it's simplified, and they generally all have a similar idea of them. It's like Sentai is the team, Kamen Rider is the solo guy. But I do think, even in Japan, I think there's a world for a middle, right? I think this could exist today. They tried to bring it back twice. I've seen both of them. They're not good. I'm not going to waste your time describing them. Just trust me when I say they're not good. But I do think that there's a world for this to exist. But this is probably the last time I'm going to explore this. I don't know. A lot of them I was kind of interested in, maybe, but I'd be far more likely to go back to Ultraman than I would this. Ultraman was way more engaging to me. I don't know. But
you could always do another one of these as a rapid fire.
I could. Hey everybody, it's NCAR Justin here again, and this time I'm going to flip the script a little bit because I'm assuming none of you have seen any of these shows, but if you have, let me know down in the comments. Let me know, do any of these sound vaguely interesting to you? Would you watch a whole 53 episodes of this? Let me know. In the meantime, if you would like to see the full podcast that this video is from, you can click the box on the left, and that's going to take you to our full Tokusatsu episode where we talk about Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, all kinds of crazy stuff. You can click that there. Or you can click the box on the right, and that'll take you to a random video that YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy. Otherwise, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Leave us a like if you could, and we'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day, everybody. Henshin!